Three, two, one. Hey, internet friends, this is me, Bradley G, here in friendly Minnesota, which is a suburb of Minneapolis. Welcome to Synergy Cafe, and this is lots of fun because I have an old friend. Well, not an old friend. I think he's younger than me. I'm not old, but his name is Todd. He's got a real name, but he's got a stage name because he's a professional entertainer. And this is going to be fun to talk with him because I haven't really talked to him in depth for a while. So stand by. I'm going to go to the green room and get Todd. There he is. Todd, how you doing?
Well, pretty good, Brad Goodham. Thank you for the opportunity, and I apologize to your fans if they've had to wait here for my tech support issue.
It's that kind of stuff sometimes.
Well, thank you, everybody.
So I think we have probably Chris Pidell. He's a local guy here. And then do you remember John Ivan Palmer?
Oh, of course.
Sure. Yeah, and he might have tuned in because I just saw him yesterday. And he's retired, but you're still going at it, aren't you?
Oh, yes, I sure am.
I remember back in the days seeing you come to Arcana Lodge and see me and David Stahl doing our Dove Act.
Central Avenue.
And
Minneapolis. Northeast Minneapolis. And Gary Olinger, sure.
And you used to have a band called Magic, didn't you? A music band.
Well, yes, I was with them for 5 years.
Mm-hmm. Were you doing Magic before that?
Pardon me?
Were you doing Magic before that, or is that what got you?
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay. Oh, yes.
That's interesting how you blended in with the magicians.
Well, I joined that band when I was, I think, 17 years old, and I got into magic when I was about 13. Magic and ventriloquism,
Yeah, because this is kind of fun. I'll just throw this out there, this little thing right here, funnydog.com.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a unique ventriloquist. Sometimes it's not a wooden dummy, is it?
No, I still use those, but the dog is kind of my hook. It's what changed my career, my business, and everything. That's what really changed it. I have a good living with the dummies, and but the dog changed everything. And
you got, if I can remember their names, it was Joey, I think, and
Joey Pops, and Lily, and then Lily. Norman. Mm-hmm.
And then the dog is Irving, right?
The dog is Irving.
Yeah, I got you down there, bud.
Yeah. Sure.
And like I mentioned, John Ivan Palmer, you helped him with some of his relationship.
Well, yeah, the dog married. The dog was the I guess you'd call him the dog minister at the ceremony.
Yes, it was a rough wedding. Rough.
It was there, and that's cute. Yeah, I remember. That was quite the and what an honor. What an honor that a fine artist like John Ivan would ask me to do that. And oh my gosh, he treated me great and flew me and the dog up there first class. And I remember I got there and I wasn't feeling very well. Something happened, I guess, I don't know, something I ate, and but we were able to do the little ceremony, and it was fun. And I was a fan of John and still am, and his I read his book, his first book there, and his father, of course, Jack Pyle had a fabulous reputation for being a great act, and I like that older era of show business. So there you go. Yeah.
We were talking about that, how it's way, way, way different nowadays. And John is actually officially retired as far as of June.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Actually, he's not going to do anymore. He's pulled the plug on it. He's done.
I know many that have, that are, I think that's okay. I think it's good to decide to do that when it's right. And
sure.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you're down in Branson, are you?
Well, we live in Springfield. We live in Springfield, and I was on a showboat in Branson for 13 years,
Oh, wow.
and then we played a few theaters off and on after that. But I'm subbing right now in a small little review show for just a couple of months. But I'm not there full time anymore. I'm on the road most of the time, and I like that. I still like the road, and I had a change. Um, I as you know, Brad, we just always kind of evolve in this in the variety arts, and what I'm doing now is I'm really enjoying it, and it's all performing arts centers, and I'm really having a good time doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. A lot of people don't realize that there's so many opportunities. They think, how can you make a living as an entertainer? Where don't you have to be like a star to be that? But
No, no.
there's so many opportunities.
You know what it is? It's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. Kind of runs their own race, as I say, and I I do a family friendly show,
Mhm.
and combined with student outreach programs that promote the theater that I'm at, wherever that may be, and that's how I do it. And but I do 90 minutes in the theaters, and I used to do just 60 minutes of ventriloquism. I do a little bit at the piano. I have a piano bench that a dummy fits in the piano bench, and I do a little thing. It's a diversion. I go over to the piano and tell a story, and it's just a couple of minutes. I don't even play for, I think, just a couple of minutes, and you hear a distant voice, and I open up the piano bench and I pull Joey out of the bench, and but that show was 60 minutes with the dog and the dummies. And what happened was the guest acts that they would put on were always kind of a disaster. Um, Weird or dirty or a
Oh,
bad fit. And so what happened about 11 years ago, I knew we were in Florida and we had a couple of, I don't know what the promoters were thinking, but we had a couple of real bad opening acts. And I called my wife and I said, I've got to do something, but I can't do this anymore. I can't follow this type of weird stuff. And somehow I just started thinking about magic again. And I read, like many of us, I read and collect all the biographies of some of our heroes, everybody from Thurston to Del Rey to,
okay.
everybody, Willard, um,
I
McDonald
didn't know that
Birch,
you're into that stuff.
McDonald Birch. I've read them all. My favorite one is uh, Okito's son, David Devant. No, that's not David. That's the guy from England. Well, anyways, but I had been reading all these biographies, and I was and I just love, I've got a real thing for nostalgia in show business, and so what happened was I just I prayed about it, and I just somehow I just started thinking about magic again, and but I went at it completely different than I did back when we were kids.
Mhm.
And what I did is I just spent a couple of years woodshedding on the magic, and then I slowly put it in a little bit at a time, and I created some of my own things. The first effect that happens is something that I created. It's my own little trick that I invented myself, and it's a 36-inch silk production, just one big foulard, and I just kept working at it. I In 2015, I was in a review show in Myrtle Beach,
Mhm.
and I did my act every night with the dog in a big production show, and I spent all my days practicing and woodshedding and doing that, as we say, and that helped. And then luckily I went on the road and I booked myself in some small rooms, little small, like real small theaters, or I could break stuff in slowly and not worry about uh, if a certain format didn't work. It's all about dramatic structure and the flow of the show, and audience participation, the whole combination. And it all worked out. It all worked out. But it's a lot more work now. When I was just a ventriloquist act, I have my show runs off a computer with the QLab format for the video and the music tracks.
Sure.
But now, and that, it was pretty easy. You roll in, you hang up your wardrobe, get the dummies in the
And now you got a little preparation.
Yeah, there's hardly anything. I hand the cue sheets to the crew, and we run the rehearsal. Pretty simple. But with the magic now,
yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's where now it's a whole lot more work, because I've got a list. My checklist before a show is there's 45 things I have to check. If I have a checklist, and I've got to check every little thing. And besides checking sight lines in the venue too. That checking sound and lighting and sight lines, that's one thing. But it's all the little detail things that I have to check for the show. And then
that keep you a little alert.
Well, exactly. Exactly, because I'm 67 years old now, and I'm in pretty good shape. But there's the cleaning. There's 3 birds in the show.
Oh wow!
And a live bunny.
You have gone back in time.
Yeah. So the thing is that bird cage has to be cleaned.
Yeah.
When I'm on the road, the bunny lives in the bathtub with his little crate, and the birds are in their travel cage, and they all need attention. I have 2 parakeets and a cockatiel, and they all want attention, and they have to have it, or else they can get a little cute sometimes. So, I guess if I'm making a point is the preparation. Basically what happens is if we have a 7:00 show at a theater, we do a 2:00 load in. It takes me 2 hours to get the show up, and with the help of the crew. Then we do a 4:00 rehearsal sound check. We're done at 5. They usually have something for me to eat. They do doors at 6, shows at 7, shows over at 8:30, meet and greet, done at 9, usually 9:15-ish. It takes me every bit of 2.5 hours to take the show down and clean the props and the rarebit pan and roll the silks, and it just
that's the one thing that I don't think a lot of people understand with magic is they see it from the surface. They don't see any of the stuff that's going on behind the scenes. There's so much.
And they can't even begin to understand the attention to detail.
Yeah.
And there's different kinds of performers these days. There's some guys that claim to carry their whole show in a briefcase with the cut and restored rope and the linking rings or whatever, and they got a comedy. They're basically a comedian doing some magic tricks, and they've got a very kind of a loose way of working that works for them, but that's not what I do. I
know what you mean, because there's some parts in my small act where it's a random bunch of effects, and if I do this effect before or after, it makes a big difference because I need something from that other effect. So I need to make sure I do it before, because I'm going to use it on another effect after. And if I flip-flop them, it don't work.
Well, yeah, that dramatic structure is something that you just learn from doing a bunch of shows over the years. And if we trust our instincts and we have a vision and a plan on how to do this, it usually works out. But you do need the stage time to do that. And fortunately, when I got started, after when we were kids, we had so many opportunities to. I was a volunteer for the Minneapolis public school system in high school, and I got school credit as a volunteer magician, ventriloquist. And I used, it was I only had to go to school 3 hours a day in high school, and then go do my act as a volunteer. And I was doing shows all the time, so I learned a lot about working an audience and structure and setup and all that.
Well, that's a nice. Do you remember Mississippi Live?
No, that I remember the name, but that happened after I was gone.
Oh, okay, because there's an opportunity where you're doing 5 shows a night,
Uh-huh.
every hour on the hour, so you really get your thing down.
I remember hearing about that. I remember some of you gentlemen were doing that, but by that time I was out of I got away from the magic and ventriloquism for from the age of like 18 till I was 24. I was a full-time musician in a couple different rock bands, and then when I got back into it, I went right out as a school assembly act for a booking bureau. And I did that for years.
No, I remember that because I was doing Dale Shar introduced me to that, and I did a little bit of that stuff too. Yeah,
I worked for an office out of Fargo called Dakota Assemblies. They're
I remember that.
long gone. It's all the booking bureaus are gone. That business doesn't exist anymore. The last
Right.
one, Bureau of Lectures, out of Lawrence, Kansas, and they're gone too. That whole world, which is so unfortunate.
It is.
Years I always thought, well, I remember as when I got out of the music business, I thought, well, I'll just be a school assembly act for the rest of my life. I love doing it. Get a message with the dummies, get a message to the kids about using their time wisely and turning a talent into a skill that'll take care of you. That was my whole thing. And I thought during the summers, maybe I'll do the ships or fairs or whatever. But my goodness, everything changed. That the whole with school consolidation and bureaucracy of schools.
It did that, and also the internet kind of kicked the middleman out.
Everything changed, and
We've only got one agent in the Twin Cities now, G.L. Berg. He's basically the only
right. I did a few dates for that office over the years. I don't anymore, but I played for them now and then. But there, when I started, it was you too, Brad. Remember there was Petey. Remember Earl Peterson?
Sure. And the small guys like Ned Cantor and Roy Geidel and
was
Ryan Entertainment. And
there was Bruce Nielsen.
Yeah.
And there was
Jimmy Allen.
I never worked for him. I didn't know him, but Earl Peterson booked me. He was my first agent, was Earl Peterson, and he was so nice.
Now, is he the same as Petey Peterson?
Yeah, that's Petey. That was Petey. Okay. Petey, John Ivan, I'm sure, remembers Petey. I'm sure he does. His dad probably worked for him too. And Petey was an old circus man. He was one of the flying Peteys, and he fell. He fell, and he walked with a cane after that, and he became an agent.
Sure.
And he was so nice. Oh gosh, him and his wife were so nice. And I remember they came out. I broke my act in when I got back into it. I did a thing at Dudley Riggs for a short, like a winter Christmas type 7-8 week booking thing. It was kind of like a review show, variety show. And Earl Peterson and Mrs. Peterson came out. Oh, and they were so nice. And he started booking. Well, I played some dates for him back when we were kids. But then, of course, like I said, I got out of it. But then when I came back, he came back and saw my event act and started booking it. And he didn't live too long after that. He was elderly by then.
Did you ever do anything in the world, the circus world?
No, I never did.
You remember Jose Cole?
I know the name of Cole Brothers Circus, but
this is different. This is just an individual, Jose Cole, and John Ivan had set me up with this guy to be the ringmaster for 2 weeks, filling
Oh
in.
boy.
It was quite an interesting 2 weeks. The first day was scary, the second day was fun, and the third day was boring. And then after that, another week and a half.
Well, I worked with some circus acts over the years, but I never did work in a circus. No, but
It was just a small. It was just a small.
sure,
They did like Baldwin, Wisconsin, and Bodette, Minnesota, and Cambridge, and
sure, you bet.
it
There
was
were a
fun.
lot of small circuses that traveled, and yeah, I'm a big fan of that world too. I knew I worked with a magician years ago, Charles and the Lady, and Charles was with a shrine circus for a while. In fact, my wife and when my daughter was just tiny, we went to go see them in Springfield, and yeah.
Did you ever do anything in the corporate world of like product launches in the marketing area, anything like that?
No, no, not really, not really. We
TV commercials?
I did some commercials. Yeah, I did public service announcements,
Oh, okay.
and then I did a thing for flywichita.com. I don't know how long they used it, but if they used a dog's voice announcing flights at the airport. All right, this is Irving, I'm talking dog, and it was kind of bizarre. And but that no, I never did anything like that. I tried to avail myself to that, but it never really. I mean, well, those public service announcements, we did those in Myrtle Beach about beach safety and pet safety, and I did a Spay and Neuter Association public service announcement, and but yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, some of those things can be a little intense because the person on the outside has their interpretation of what you're going to do,
Yes,
and they don't know what it. You have to do what you know what you have to do.
right, and yeah, it's all kind of has to work together, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I did a commercial, a radio. When I was on the showboat here, I was on two showboats for about 21 years. I was on a showboat in Nashville for 7 years on the production show. And then after that, I was in a show in Branson for 13 years on that showboat. Well, I had just done my first national television appearances on a bunch of them. So in Branson, we were the new thing people were talking about, the talking dog with the ventriloquist on the showboat.
Okay.
So they were smart. They used me on the Vacation Channel television thing in Branson, and then they had me do commercials with the dog. And I remember one of the commercials. It was I wrote that. It was so simple. It was a commercial that talked about the showboat, and the guy that was doing the main voiceover and said, and there's Todd Oliver and his talking dog Irving. And then it cut to me. This is an audio thing, and I said, "Hi, this is Todd Oliver with Irving, the talking to Irving. Irving, you want to say hello? What? A ventriloquist on radio? What do you got next week? A mime? And that was just our clip that they used. But that and then we did a lot of stuff for the Vacation Channel, with the dog.
The tourism kind of stuff.
Yes. We
Oh,
did
I
a
can see
lot
the
of
deal
them.
out of that.
I don't think I even have any of them. I might have kept one of them, but this was I might have kept one of them or something. But I never look at them, and I threw a lot of that stuff out because I don't know.
So I got to ask, what's the most unusual thing that ever happened to you at a gig? What's the most bizarre situation?
Oh my goodness, where do you start? Well,
It doesn't have to be the most, but
I've got a couple of them. I got
I'm
a
sure.
couple that come to mind. I, like many ventriloquists, do an audience participation thing where we get audience members and we make them talk. A lot of the newer ventriloquists they put a contraption on the person's face with a flapping mouth.
Right. I've seen that.
It's very funny. A lot of people use it. I never have. I've done it my own way where it's I just sit when I squeeze your neck, open your mouth, and I'll do that's okay. Well, I was on the school tour in like 1986, I think it was. And I was at a junior high school in like somewhere in Nebraska, I think. And now remember, this was back when you did 4 schools a day, 8:30,
Okay.
12:30, 2:30, all in different towns generally. Sometimes you'd be in one town for a couple of shows. Or sometimes, but this particular show, I'm at a junior high school. And I'd pick a girl. I still do the bit. I get a girl on one side and a guy on the other side. And I give them the voices. Well, the guy, I always give him kind of a bumpkin voice, kind of a Mortimer Snurdish type of voice, Well, I got this boy on stage, and I started squeezing his neck, and the kids are laughing, and the kids are getting pissed off that people are laughing at him.
Oh.
And he's starting to clench his fists, and his head is starting to. He looked like a bomb that was ready to go off.
Sure.
He was pissed off.
In the neck.
Yeah, he was. The kids were laughing their heads off, but this guy's getting real pissed off. And I quickly, thank you, Lord, thank you, God. I quickly changed his voice, and I changed a bit, and I said, "You must be the toughest kid in school." Yeah. You're the toughest kid in the whole town. Yeah. You could whoop anybody. Yeah. Well, then he started smiling and going along with it. Right. Okay. So and the kids are still laughing. So I finished a bit, and I send the kids, the 2 people out to the audience, and I do my farewell. Blah, 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 blah. God bless you. Have a great day in school. Good day. And I bow and I go off stage. And I was working on an apron stage, and I was working in front of the main rag, and I went through the curtain, and there were a bunch of teachers and a policeman. And they're looking at me like pretty freaked out. And one of them said something like, "Oh, we were getting ready to rescue you. That kid bludgeoned his family a year ago, and we're just breaking back to society."
That's pretty bizarre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's one for the books.
It sounds like you turned that around just in time.
Well, yeah, and he was a stocky, husky little guy, and I'm a skinny 25-year-old ventriloquist.
Yeah, you snapped your neck.
That's a weird thing. Another thing that happened was, if you haven't seen my act, my dog, my dog wears a thing that looks like his mouth moves, and it's my own invention. With an invention, I worked with an engineer. Well, actually, 3 of them over the years, and I've improved the contraption. It's very simple. It doesn't. Of course, it wouldn't hurt the dog. It's like the dog wearing a bow tie. I mean, that's what it is. That's basically what it is. It's so simple. The dog just sits there, doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
Right. Okay. Well, the original one worked on a servo motor. Right.
Oh, okay.
And you had to hook a battery up to it. Problem with servo motors back then was they go out. They're like light bulbs. They go out, and you never know when they're going to go out. Right.
Sure.
So, in my old act, when the dog first started, the dog would go on right before the audience participated. Well, even now, I always end my act with that audience participation where I squeeze your necks. But like when I first started with the dog, it was the dummies, and then the dog, and then the audience thing. Well, one night I was on a club date somewhere in Wisconsin, and I go get the dog, and I bring him on stage, and I say, "Speak," and it doesn't work.
Oh.
The thing does not work. It's shorted out.
What'd you do?
I said, "Well, I guess this isn't going to work, but maybe somebody can fill in for the dog." So I got a guy to get out of the audience. I did the audience bit, and it, a bit awkward, but
sure.
That's what happened. And it happened again the morning I was in Las Vegas filming the Oak Ridge Boys live in Las Vegas. And this was the first, like, within the first year that I started using the dog. And I flew in the night before. It was at the old Las Vegas Hilton. And I charged the battery overnight like I would do. And I woke up that morning and I hooked it up and it was like intermittent. Oh my God, we have to block it at 1 and then tape it at 4 or something like that. Oh my God, I think I realized it shorted out the night before. Yeah. And I realized at like 2 in the morning it wasn't working. So I called Andy in Los Angeles and he got on a red-eye flight.
Really?
Yeah, because he built it. And I said, Andy, we've got this TV shoot. It's a television special. I think it was for the TNN network back when they had that. That network is long gone.
Sure.
But Andy got on. He was in California, LA. Excuse me. And he flew up with his toolbox and a soldering gun.
Oh.
And he fixed it. And here's another one that happened. And we did the show, and it all went fine.
So on that device, did you come up with some other iterations of?
Yes, I did. Yes, what happened was Andy got real busy. Andy built the first one, but it worked good, but I knew it was a little bit more of a mask thing, and it didn't look that great. I mean, and I knew I could improve it. And I wanted to get away from that electronic, the servo motor stuff.
Yeah, I was thinking of a squeeze ball or something.
Oh, well, we tried that, but those things leak. So they didn't work very good either. Now, maybe there's better ways of using it now, but I found, fortunately, do you remember Bill Cummins, William Cummins? He was a Manipact. He was a Manipact. He changed his name to Maverick, and he was a dear, dear, dear friend. Well, he passed away a few years ago, but he knew an engineer in Ohio, a guy that worked for NASA on different projects. And this second guy helped me work it he came up with an idea that didn't use the servo motor. And that worked good for a while, but they would wear out. And then I found a third guy. And the third one was the best one, and that's what I'm using right now. And we also made it more camera friendly. So, like if you look at the old Tonight shows or the Letterman one or the Craig Ferguson, some of those, that was the old one, where the new one is much more camera friendly, and you can't even tell. I mean, it just looks great. But you know, they wear out, you know, they're like, and
I suppose you're jacking your jaw all the time.
Yeah, and you got to have a backup.
Yeah, always.
And, oh gosh, I did the Craig Ferguson show, and after Letterman, and there was talking about another terrible thing that happened. I got the dog. I'm in the makeup chair, and I have the dog in another makeup chair for the shoot, and I got the thing on the dog, and I said to the makeup, there was 2 makeup people. One was doing me, and there was another.
Uh-oh. Just lost you.
Help you with this? I said, yeah, just blend in a little bit of the gray there on the dog. Well, the guy painted the whole thing black.
Oh.
And I don't know what he was thinking.
He wasn't.
I don't know, drugs are a terrible thing. And then I get the spare one out, and the spare one's not working great. There's something wrong. But it was weird. It was weird, but things. So those are that's what I can think of as far as crazy things.
Oh,
One last crazy thing that happened on
yeah.
those school assembly tours, they would book you in every venue. It didn't matter what your act was. If the account, you'd play 4 schools a day, and sometimes there'd be a little one that wasn't a school, but it was like, and one of them was a mental institution.
Okay.
And
I might have been in the audience.
I got there, and God bless those patients. They made more noise than my PA system could handle. And I just did my act. And, but they, even though a lot of them were screaming and yelling and crazy, you always do your thing, because you always must remember there's always a few people that appreciate what you're doing.
Sure.
And I remember I did that. And here's the weird thing. Here's a weird thing. I looked out the window during the show, and there was the staff all sharing a joint. No kidding. The staff that was supposed to be taking care of these people, they're out in the courtyard getting stoned while I'm doing my act for these poor patients,
Well, maybe that was the 2 people that were enjoying it.
Maybe that was. But that's a weird thing.
That's always fun.
That happens. Here's a quickie. I was my act one night on the show, but I squeezed the guy's neck. His dentures flew out into the orchestra pit.
Okay. All these weird things. I was talking with John Ivan about it because he wrote his books, and I thought about writing a book of all the bizarre stories that entertainers have had.
You should do that, Brad.
I think that would be
that. I've always thought somebody should do that.
Yeah.
Because
we'll talk about it.
Yeah, it would be just wonderful,
It'd be fun.
And the thing is in some of my vaudeville research, one thing I've learned is in 1918, the performing artists, they put up with a lot of the same bizarre stuff that we put up with today. They played rough rooms. There was a room in I think Pennsylvania, and they were notorious for you didn't even make it through your first show because it was such a rough room.
Sure.
Yeah, they're
that's their objective, is to tear you down. I experienced some of that at comedy clubs when comics want to tear you down.
Well, yeah. I dealt with. I remember I was at the Improv in Los Angeles, and Bud Friedman said, "Prop act. When you gonna quit using the prop? When you quit using the prop?" And I always wanted to say, the guys in the show use the F word more than anybody I've ever known. I think that's a prop too, don't you?
Yeah.
That you didn't understand that comment.
It's true. Well, Todd, we've gone for about 38 minutes here, and I'm going to keep these somewhat short.
Sorry about this. I'm yakking too much.
That's okay. It's all good. It's been fun. We had John Ivan was on here, and Chris Pidell. He's a local magician here. Mm-hmm. So I want to call attention to the funnydog.com. That's a great
funnydog.com. Yes. That's our website.
So I've got another appointment I have to get to, but this has been really fun. I'd like to do it again. Maybe we could come up with more of a format of what we're going to talk about.
Anytime, Brad. And I'm so sorry again for the tech issue here.
Oh, that's part of the deal. It's a lot different than when you got a physical piece of paper. You can drop that on the floor, but you drop your phone on the floor and the show is over.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pop into the green room and then I got to get going. But let's reconvene.
Well, let me just say one more thing real quick.
Absolutely, please.
I clearly remember you and I playing a show for Larry Kalo, poolside, and we both had it was a great. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember that. Larry Kalo booked you and I for a pool gathering, and we both had just great shows that day. I think I went on first, and I just had the figure, the dummy. And then you did your thing, and you and I played that day together, and it was just great. It's a very good memory. I can kind of still see that pool there, and people sitting around, and they were actually paying attention. They were tuned into what we were doing, and it was a great booking. We both had a great day then, and I always thought you and Dave were real troopers. I always thought you and Dave were real troopers. Your hearts and your commitment and focus, and you guys are smart guys, and it's nice to
Thank you.
it's nice to be part of your community
Yes, we should do a reenactment. We'll find a pool somewhere and
somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Well,
okay.
thank you for the opportunity, Brad, and good luck with this new broadcast podcast you're doing, and I wish you all the best.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Peace.
Good day.
There you have it, my friend Todd Oliver, and you can get a hold of him right here at funnydog.com. And I've just got good memories from way back when we used to do this stuff, the Arcana Lodge, and seeing Scott Turkington and Todd Anderson, and those are the good old days. But they're gone. But maybe they'll come back. Okay. So thanks again for tuning into Synergy Cafe. You enjoy the rest of your day. I want you to be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? Yes, I did. Be nice.